Again, thank you for choosing to stay tuned. On this program, as well as subsequent episodes, I have included some musical interludes to add rhythm and melody while the record speaks and the truth is made known. Again, I am Norman Bapo John Baptiste, your independent senatorial candidate for election to the 37th legislature of the Virgin Islands of the United States of America. My desire is to render focused service that is consistent with the will and declarations of the Creator Most High. With your indulgence, I feel compelled to perhaps digress a little and to talk upon, or rather to discuss, rather to present a couple of trends I have noticed, things that have been brought to my attention by supporters and just other folk who pay an active interest in what I have purpose to do. And so allow me to say that there are individuals, persons, who present themselves as would-be destroyers of hope. Individuals who I consider in terms chosen from the Bible. Individuals who appear to be nothing but a bundle of fruitless trees, twice dead and plucked up by the roots, who insist in engaging in a sad song and dance of distraction, where they make statements to the effect, "Il est déjà là, qui ça y fait?" Or, to put it in the Spanish vernacular, "El fue, y que hizo él?" Or to bring it down more to the level of everyday local parlance, he was there. What did he do? The saddest thing about that, folks, is that these are individuals that some would say in the parlance of the country where I was born, Membet, Mempuel. And it is sad that in accordance with the old cliche, it is your own fleas that bite you the worst. Now, I don't hold any malice, afore or afterthought relative to such persons who make those pronouncements. No, none of that. Matter of fact, I invite them to come on board, relax, and feel the vibe. If by chance they be convicted that a previous route of engagement is misguided, ill-conceived, then of course, the more the merrier, as it is said. I don't have a problem with that. But as we get into our discussions this morning and beyond, on this program and additional episodes to follow, I wish to impress upon listeners and viewers to consider seriously the fact that if one has served 5 terms in a legislative body, having served as vice president on 2 occasions, secretary on 1 occasion, having chaired several significant committees to include finance, education, health and hospitals, among others. Let's be truthful. Do you sincerely think that such an individual will be afforded service in such capacities if it was true of that individual? Ite jala qui ça y fait. El fue y que hizo. He was there, and what did he do? I think at times we're being very disingenuous in terms of our characterization of people. And of course, everyone is entitled to their opinions, their perhaps jaundiced analyses, but truthfully, we are not entitled to our own facts. And so, we want to let the record speak. And we want to let the truth be known. And of course, any one of us can access the truths, the record, with a bit of just a Google search on a cursory level, or a deep dive with AI, if I may. The truth is all there. The record is all there. You may have to do a bit of a search, but you can certainly find the truth. Get to know the truth, and you can hear or see the record speak. Now, I am going to, like I said, I'm going to introduce some kind of musical interlude because I've come to learn that the language of music speaks volumes and brings across rhythm, melody, and vibe. And so I do want to bring in some measure of musical melody, musical rhythm to accentuate this program, if I may. Kindly permit me to reiterate that this program is episode 1 of my political campaign's weekly radio address, which is titled, Let the Record Speak and the Truth Be Known. This program is currently scheduled for broadcast every Monday morning from 11 to 12. Time will be allotted towards the end for relevant and pertinent question and answer engagement. Again, I don't have, as of yet, a number of my candidacy, but I am Norman Bapo John Baptiste, your independent candidate for election to the 37th Legislature of the Virgin Islands of the United States of America. It is imperative that I share some additional qualifications of mine, my experience, my requisite skill set that make me suitable for election to the legislature of the Virgin Islands of the United States of America. I am a retired secondary school teacher, a former five-term senator, past member and co-founder of several community organizations, civic groups, and I currently host a couple of radio talk programs. As such, I believe I have a respectable grasp of the issues and challenges confronting our communities, and I am capable of rapid deployment of my skills to address such challenges and issues on the legislative and senatorial levels. Additionally, I have, as I engage with persons via radio, as I interface with individuals in the community, grasp knowledge, experience, and insight that has allowed me to develop some revenue generation ideas and economic development initiatives that may be beneficial to this territory. And by the way, those revenue generation ideas will not in any way, shape, or manner impose additional taxes or fees on the local population. I think I should mention that it is my humble submission, but at the same time, my study position that one of the major failures or weaknesses of those serving in office at this current point in time is that there has not been a generation of a willingness or ability to explore revenue generation initiatives to help meet the burden of government service to this community. Just recently, there was a committee meeting at the legislature relative to the ongoing budget presentations, where the Waste Management Authority indicated that it is just about necessary to impose a waste disposal fee on residents of this territory. And there were senators who justified that. One senator in particular indicated that it's not a tax. It is a service-based fee. I personally took exception because I know that there are other sources of revenue generation connected to waste disposal in the territory that doesn't place a tax or fee on local residents, and that has not been explored. And of course, one of the chief responsibilities of a legislature is to control the purse strings of the government and to generate revenue so that government can operate and provide services to the community. And if you listen to other government departments and agencies making their presentation before the legislature at this point in time, you will realize that there are several departments coming before the legislature and indicating that they're facing hardships in terms of being able to provide services because of a shortfall of revenue streams, inadequate revenues being available. And so that clearly calls for curtailment of services. It's all well and good for us to hear people speak about the $24 billion allotted to this community by the federal government in the wake of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Those monies cannot be used for everyday general services of this government to its residents. And so I want to impress upon those of you listening to me this morning that it is important to consider the skill set of candidates vis-a-vis ability to generate revenues, to create legislative measures that can adequately address the problems and concerns of this community. For this morning's program, I do want to focus on concerns with the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority to some extent. And I want to talk a little about my previous attempts to remediate some of those concerns. Our problems surrounding the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority is no secret. And although it may seem unwise to reveal proprietary information at this juncture, I will try to share limited aspects of my already drafted proposed legislation to address those issues once elected. And by the way, notwithstanding the proposed construction of new generating facilities for WAPA, there are problems and issues that will persist unless legislative interventions are introduced. I would like to take a brief musical interlude, Josh, if we can, at this point. If we can introduce this before I continue. And of course, I want folks to know that I will give an opportunity for question-answer engagement as we move along. And for those of you who would like to do so, our numbers here at the station are 773-0390 and 774-0490. I was wondering if you would. Yeah, music. Hello? Hello, caller? Hello? Hello, caller?
Yes, good morning, John Bapo.
Good morning to you, my brother, and welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. You know, my belief is that a person should get elected to office, public office, because of the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and experience in particular areas affecting government operation. And such a person, of course, would have to understand that they are not the boss of the people, but likewise it has to be the other way around. When the people that elect you are your bosses, and I have followed you from the very first time. I don't know if you remember way back when we first met, I think it was down in Frederickstead. I was with Congressman Fraser. He was vying for the office delegate, and we met, we talked, and we exchanged ideas and all. But from then until you served, first term, you went up, I think you did 5 terms.
Correct.
Yeah, I followed you, and of course, all I could see from what you have been doing is what we call common sense and good legislation. Now, though, you wonder why a person, a voter, an electorate would want to take such a person out of office. And sometimes it befuddles the wisest of men. maybe just to put in a friend of theirs, or somebody who has full their head with promises, or someone from a party, and all this type of thing. And, you know, we recently had a primary election, and there are them and those who I like to call government Democrats would say, you know, bragging that the history shows that anyone that wins in a primary wins in a general. I don't know that to be totally true. I haven't followed it that close, except to say that that should not be, and it should not have to be. I mean, if the boss is the best candidate, for God's sake, elect them also in the general. But if they're not, why do that? Because now you're coming into a general with people, with other candidates, other aspirants, let's say from another party or two, or maybe independent candidates, which are very good. So why would I just, you win in a Democratic primary, so I'm going to make sure you win in the general election. It don't make sense. The people deserve more than that.
Well, if I may interject something here.
Yeah.
And that's not to cast aspersions or at anyone or in any direction. But I recall one year on the senatorial level, we had a good, viable candidate who was number one in the primary and lost in the general election.
Oh, okay.
And that's fact. It's not something I'm making up, that's fact.
Okay.
Because I run along with that person in that particular election year. So I'm saying that, you know, nothing is set in stone when it comes to the outcome of elections. We simply encourage people to do due diligence, to analyze the candidates, their position on issues. And by the way, the forums that we have that allow for a 1 minute or 2 minute clip relative to an issue or problem does not do justice to the topic. And the reason why I'm saying that to you is because our problems and issues develop over a protracted period of time.
Right.
It calls for deliberation, study, careful analysis to put in place resolution or remedy to these problems. So don't expect somebody, because of some razzle-dazzle sound bite within a 1 minute or 2 minute interval, demonstrate that this person has the ability or what it takes or the skill set to deliver the goods.
I mean, I agree with you. It is certainly, that's ludicrous. You know? Yeah. And, you know, I heard you mention just now, and I'll clear the way for you to go to this big elephant we have in the room, this whopper.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know. Let me just say this. If there are not serious aspirants for the government house, for the House of Representatives and our local legislature that is going to deal with this thing. And when I say deal with it the way it's supposed to be dealt with. We've been offered not only, well, we got a load of federal dollars, but seemingly we don't have the requisite technical response. I mean, technical experienced people to assess with the technicality of it. And the current administration continue to refuse technical assistance from the federal government. So let me get off my
before you get off, I want to share this so that you and those listening and viewing can hear me. We have a new pre-K to 8 school that was just officially opened on the island of St. Croix. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful structure. And people talk highly of what it means to our children, the teachers and other personnel who will be working in that facility. But I want to remind us that when the St. Croix Educational Complex was built on St. Croix, we spoke highly about it. It was such an achievement that was going to serve the children well, and it has served the children well to some extent. But look at what's happening with it today. We almost didn't have a reopening of that facility for the school year this morning.
That's so sad.
All right. Look at the Wang Louis Hospital when that was built. It looked good. I mean, there was an incident where I think a senator had kicked the wall, and there was a demonstration of a weakness of some sort. All right. So I'm saying, yes, these things happen, but clearly there are elements missing that go beyond just the construction of a facility.
Thank you.
And so as we speak about this proposed facility for WAPA, because there is a contract that has been entered between WAPA and at least two organizations out there, two companies out there, to build new facilities. But I'm saying, unless there is legislative intervention, we're going to run into problems.
You're so right. I'm going to let you go ahead. I'm going to listen.
All right. Thanks much for joining and calling and sharing with us. I'm going to go to a musical interlude at this point in time so that we can really share, what's going on. With let the record speak and the truth be known with candidate Norman Bapo John Baptiste. All right. Let's get that, Josh.
Well, hello, I haven't seen you all the years.
Yes.
Blessing. Again, folks, you're tuned in to Norman Bapo John Baptiste on AM 970 WSTX. A bit of technical difficulties, but we're getting there.
Got it.
Once we finish the musical segment, we'll go right back to radio as it is. Wow. Got it?
Yep.
Go ahead.
At 10:30 a.m.
Good evening, brothers and sisters.
From 1989 to 2008, Norman in the Senate,
Go.
fighting for the acting to over. Just creation anonymous. Water amendments, go on with the people. Smart contracts going like a baby step in the Bible. He's the one we trust. Education, go and stop. Keep we moving on.
I am Norman Bapo John Baptiste, and I approve this message. Large ups and cry, big up the 3-4. Them call him the Maverick, them call him the General. Norman James Baptiste. Selective. No. Collective. Listen. In the Senate House, him and the Lord Lion. For the central people, he never stop trying. Democratic Party says staying on the line. But now man tell them I got a priority of mine. Someone from the block, the millennium dead. To make sure the big rock get its way. Wrote in a will, feel like them architect. And the church pension him come for sale. Bapo, the general from the east to the west. Bapo, put in his side crime, power to the test. From the cardiac center to the street like holy up the fire in the heart and the island in his soul. Now nothing everybody young and the old. The legislative story of the ghetto. Listen to reform, the tier 2 plan to save the retirement for every woman and man. 2005 inside it in with him on to stop the system from sinking in the sun. He want the grass tax return from the Fed to make sure the elders always get fed. No senator left behind line play. Now on the people for have their own way. Check the record, check the act, physician assistant. That's a fact. Emergency jobs for the youth and the black. What about sign or the system get shocked? Transparency first, show the budget, show the spend. John Baptiste is the people's real friend. The general from the east to the west.
If you want to play,
You got a one for
one.
you have the one for
The water, the last one is this one.
Which one is the next one?
We've got one more, which is the 3 minute, which is 2.5 minutes long.
Which one is that? Play.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Whatever it is, it's good. Good tune.
Large ups and
There you go.
cry.
That's it. Logic.
Pick up the 3-4.
That's it.
Them call him the Maverick, them call him the General. Norman James
This is the
Baptiste.
same one? Okay.
Selective.
Well, then that's it.
No.
This.
Collective.
The other one, the last one is the wrap up.
All right, look at it.
Organize
Organize
for the next one. Democratic Party says stay like the light. But now man tell them I got a priority of mine. Coming from the block, the millennium dead. To make sure the big rock gets its way. Wrote in a will, feel like them architect. And the church pension him come for sale. Bapo, the general from the east to the west. Bapo, put in his hands right, power to the press. From the cardiac center to the street like
Oh, on your
fire
right?
in a heart and the island in his soul. Now nothing everybody young and the old. The legislative story of the ghetto. Listen to reform, the tier 2 plan to save the retirement for every woman and man. 2005 inside it in with him on to start the system.
All right. Looks like I got those 4.
She's on.
She said that the Bring Back Bapo is the one that we're looking
Yeah,
for.
but we're gonna do that in the next
We'll do that like lovely cool. Perfect. You can fade it.
All right, folks, there you have it. This is just a brief interlude, musical interlude, but we have a lot more to share with you in terms of those musical jingles that speak to the record and letting the truth be known. Authority, the problems that that entity has been faced with over a protracted period of time. I want to talk about my efforts at remediation in the past, um, what I have developed in terms of intervention measures, which I am ready to implement once elected. And then, of course, I want to first go to the campaign of 2020 and the ongoing political campaign, because I'm listening to people out there and they're sounding good and people bigging them up and talking about what they're proposing. But I want to share with you, and this will be posted on social media threads so that people can know that I'm not just talking out of, what you may call it. People will see you'll see evidence that was in circulation in 2020, and folks just didn't pay attention. But here it is. In one segment of my brochure in 2020, I had a picture of an individual looking at a WAPA bill, or what was purported to be an image of a WAPA bill, and his eyes bulging out of his head upon seeing what was before him. And then I have the statement written there that the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority should not be run like a criminal enterprise. And then I went on to list the problem. The problem was listed as 1, mismanagement, 2, poor regulation, 3, high rates, 4, constant power outages, 5, punitive LEAC, 6, no accounting, 7, no interest payment on your security deposits. Folks, that was in 2020. I listed that. And then I had right below solution. And the solution went as follows. 1, independent audits. 2, effective regulation. 3, restructure and modernize. 4, benchmarked maintenance. 5, clearly defined fuel portfolio. That was in 2020, folks. I submitted that. Now let's be truthful. It's 6 years since. And now all of a sudden, people running for governor and other offices, they're submitting exactly what I submitted, whether in pertinent part or in whole, they're submitting just that. And I did it back in 2020. But for reasons beyond my understanding, it didn't work. And so, like I say, I'm going to have this posted on the internet so that folks can see that I'm not just talking gibberish. I'm talking verifiable facts, information that cannot be disputed. But anyway, I want to move from here and share with you what I did way before the 2020 submittal. In 2005, I introduced the Job Creation and Economic Stimulus Act of 2005. That act, let me just give some background before I even get into what it entails. That act, was passed by a majority of senators. The governor at the time vetoed the passed bill. We succeeded in overriding the governor's veto with 14 members voting to support the override. Only one senator, who was a former employee of WAPA, did not support the override. It became law. And then there were maneuverings behind the scenes. People got together. They got senators on their side to come up with an alternative to what was already established in law. And they moved a new piece of legislation, which undid what was already law under the pretext that this was going to be better than what I had introduced and got passed by a majority of senators to become law, only to find out in the long run that that was only going to provide 3 jobs, and it went nowhere. It died. Didn't get any traction from there on. Yes, it became an amendment that gutted what I had worked so hard to put in place, and it failed eventually. Now, let me just tell you briefly what the Economic Stimulus Act of '05 purported to do, or proposed rather, to do. It was a job, it dealt with job creation as well as economic stimulus. And so what we did was that if a small power producer had been certified to operate in the territory, then that small power producer could have entered into a contract with WAPA and the government of the Virgin Islands to build a facility on the South Shore. And we had people who were ready to do that. They were going to produce activated carbon, stainless steel, gypsum building products. They were going to produce power. I forget the exact amount they were going to produce, but they were going to sell the excess to WAPA at about 11 cents a kilowatt, if I remember. They were going to reinvest in the community to the tune of $150,000 annually to address student enrichment programs, address problems with the homeless population, and a host of other things to include entrepreneurship, etc. It was a bill that also required that that company would have to put in place bonding measures so as to prevent any kind of liability falling on the shoulders of the government of the Virgin Islands. There were measures in place to protect the interest of Virgin Islanders. That was gutted by people working behind the scenes on the table to prevent things from going forward. And see, today, we're still faced with problems with the Water and Power Authority. Well, folks, let me just say there, I did speak about what is proprietary and whether it is unwise for me to get into that this morning, but let me say to you, I have already tapped into resources, into supporting the efforts of supporting individuals, and I have already come up with a bill. The short title of the bill basically is the WAPA Accountability, Clean Energy, and Ratepayer Protection Act. I wouldn't go into details concerning that, but let me just tell you, of course, Section 1 is a short title. Section 2 presents findings and purpose, where we speak about legislative findings, just dealing with what's going on with WAPA and what may happen with WAPA post-construction of new facilities. And then we go to Section 3, where we have some definitions. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. Then Section 4 speaks of mandatory independent forensic audit. I want you to hear that, folks. Those who come up with this sad song and dance, ite hala kisaife. Them membet mempuel people who take such a mantra, such a chorus. I want you to understand that. Section 4 calls for a mandatory independent forensic audit, and that's in line with what I told you I submitted back in 2020. Section 5 deals with governance and procurement reform. Section 6 deals with restructuring of legacy debt without penalizing ratepayers. I want to repeat that again. It speaks of restructuring of legacy debt without penalizing ratepayers. In Section 7, that deals with rate stabilization and LEAC reform. I want to repeat it. Rate stabilization and LEAC reform. Section 8 of the proposed bill speaks of the establishment of the ratepayer advocate. I'm not going into details. I know what happens in this community. I've offered many things, which other people just simply picked up on the side and run with it and acted as though it was their original initiative. But I repeat again, Section 8 establishes the ratepayer advocate. In Section 9, the bill deals with clean energy and grid transition. Section 10 deals with oversight and reporting. Section 10 deals with oversight and reporting. And then in Section 11, we speak of severability, and Section 12, the effective date of enactment. Folks, if you're listening to me, I want you to be honest in your analysis. Who out there has even come close to suggesting something? I'm not elected. I do this to demonstrate to you that I have the requisite skill set to hit the ground running and to address with efficiency and effectiveness our problems and issues in this territory. I ask you for your support. I humbly ask you to support my candidacy and to give me a vote, give me an opportunity to serve you in the legislature of the Virgin Islands during the 37th legislature, the 37th sitting of the legislature, and I promise to serve in accordance and alignment with the will of the Creator Most High and His declarations. Folks, I want to, time is just about approaching. Anybody wants to call? 773-0390, 773-0490, and of course we can have a question answer engagement. But whilst we're waiting for that, Josh, let's get into some musical interlude here, and we can play that Wapa jingle and perhaps one or two others, you know. But meanwhile, folks, I'm saying if any of you want to call in with a pertinent question, feel free to do so. I'll be more than happy to engage with you. Again, I am your senatorial candidate, independent by the way, Norman Bapo John Baptiste, asking for your support this time around. Is there somebody on the line? Yeah. Hello, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning to you and welcome to the program. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I know you probably have a few minutes, right?
Yes, a few minutes, and I want to play that Wapa song before I get off.
Okay, well, it appears that crisis in paradise is the theme for this political season, but nonetheless, I'm happy for our sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
And all those who may become elected to the new government,
mm-hmm.
have my blessings and my condolences as well.
Wow.
There's so many, a lot of issues to straighten up.
Yep.
But it could be worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what happened in Puerto Rico, right?
Yep, and also
fires and
yep.
insufficient water.
Right.
So we have to be grateful for all our blessings. And I always advocate that we work collaboratively, cohesively, and cooperatively with our government, because we are in this together.
Absolutely.
And we need to put aside the animosity and
mm-hmm.
divisiveness,
mm-hmm.
and let's do it.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, thanks. So, and to you, good luck and this new chapter in your journey.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks much.
All right.
You stay strong. Keep the faith. Bye.
Okay.
All righty. Josh, let's run it. Okay, folks, we're going to just give you a quick listening of a couple of tunes and before we close off. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get all 5. We got 6 of them now. 6 good ones to go.
I am Norman Bapo John Baptiste, and I approve this message.
Listen up, my people. Hear what I'm about to say.
That's the Wapo one.
It's time for honest deliberation. It's time to bring back wisdom. It's time to bring back bring back the water. Bring back the water. Bring back the water. Bring back the water. Back in 2020, Bapo's on the way. Our pockets are struggling day after day. Because of all this transparency too. Modernization and solutions that were true. Regulations that work, maintenance that right. A clear portfolio to secure our future bright. We had the vision, we had the plan. Working for the people across this land. Bring back the power, bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership, burning like a trust. Many talk about it now, but what was it then? It's time to step into this place once again. Bring back the power, bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership, burning like a trust. Many talk about it now, but what was it then? It's time to step into this place once again. From St. Louis to St. Thomas, from St. John across the sea. Bring the people to the scene. The leader we need. Bring back the power. Bring back the power. Bring back the power. Bring back the power. Get on your feet and pray. 2020, the solution still not up. 2026, bring back the power. No man, the power. Bring back the power. Bapo, John Baptiste. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back the power. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back the power. Bring back the power. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership for running and trust. Many talk about it now, but people are saying it. It's time to send into this village once again. Bring back the power. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership for running and trust. Many talk about it now, but people are saying it. It's time to send into this village once again. Bring back the power. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership for running and trust. Many talk about it now, but people are saying it. It's time to send into this village once again. Bring back the power. Bring back the wisdom. Bring back leadership for running and trust. Many talk about it now, but people are saying it. It's time to send into this village once again. Bring back the power.
I like that tune with your son, man.
Yeah,
Boy, about you better go on stage.
yeah. Well, he's busy doing work with him at
He's
HVAC and
the road
stuff like
march
that.
living.
Yeah, definitely. All right, folks.
Tell them how you're there dancing. Yeah, Josh.
All right, we've come full circle this morning. I want to thank you sincerely for joining me this morning. for listening, for viewing, for sharing with us. I want to humbly ask you to consider my candidacy in an honest fashion, and please give me your support, your vote during the general election period that runs from, I think it's October the 12th into November the 3rd. And for those of you who are, man, I don't even want to get there. Just leave it at that. Again, be blessed. Thank you much. And we'll reconnect next week, Monday, at the same time, same place. Bye.